The marketplace of Varel Prime was filled with noise and bright alien lights. Creatures from every world shouted, traded, and laughed. In the center stood a raised platform of black stone where slaves were sold. Chains rattled, guards shouted, and the crowd cheered each time a new being was dragged forward. Then silence fell when the last prisoner was brought out. He was a human, tall but scarred, his uniform torn and burned. His eyes cold and calm, many aliens stepped back, whispering, "A human, here." The auctioneer, a tall insectoid being, smiled with sharp mandibles. "Behold, the last of the Terran soldiers," he hissed. "Captured after the fall of Earth," the crowd murmured. Half in fear, half in wonder, stories of humans still haunted them. They remembered the wars, the endless battles. The strange fury that had burned entire fleets, now this one stood silent. His hands bound by glowing chains, his head lowered, but his eyes watched every movement, every exit, every weakness. Lady Varel of the house Lysari stood near the back. Hidden by her guards, she was young for her kind. Skin like pale silver, eyes glowing blue under her hood. She had heard the stories too, and she had come to see if they were true. When her gaze met the humans, something in his stare made her heart race. There was no fear, only the cold strength of someone who refused to kneel. The bidding began. No one wanted him. Some shouted that humans were cursed, others that they were too dangerous. The auctioneer grew angry, lowering the price again and again. 10 credits, someone laughed. For the savage, Varel stepped forward, her voice soft but clear. 100 credits, she said. The crowd gasped. The auctioneer blinked, unsure if he had heard right. Varel repeated calmly, 100 credits. "And he comes with me," the insectoid grinned. "Sold." Whispers spread through the market. "Foolish noble," they said. She just bought her own death. But she ignored them. Walking toward the platform, the human looked at her, his jaw tight, his eyes like fire under the dirt. When the chains were unlocked, he didn't move. 2 guards stepped closer. But Varel raised her hand. "It's all right," she said softly. "You're safe now." The human's voice came rough and deep. "Safe?" Not here, but he followed her anyway. Walking through the crowd in silence that night, Varel brought him to her manor at the edge of the city. She ordered her servants to bring food and clean clothes. They were afraid, whispering that the human would kill them in their sleep. But he ate nothing, sitting in the corner of his small room, staring at the door. When she came to check on him, he said quietly, "You shouldn't have done this." Varel frowned. "You were going to die out there." "I was already dead," he answered. There was no anger in his tone, only tired truth. She didn't know what to say. She wanted to ask about Earth, about the war, about his people, but his eyes warned her not to. Later, as the moons rose over the city, the manor lights flickered. The security drones went offline one by one. In the darkness, shadows moved over the walls. Silent assassins hired by those who hated the Lysari house. Their orders were simple. Kill Lady Varel, make it look like a robbery. Varel woke to the sound of metal against stone. Before she could scream, a figure moved through the room. It was the human, his eyes sharp, his body already between her and the door. "Stay down," he whispered. The door burst open, and the first assassin rushed in. The human moved faster than her eyes could follow. A strike to the neck, a twist of the wrist. The attacker fell without a sound. Another came from behind, blades flashing. He ducked, grabbed a fallen weapon, and threw it with perfect aim. The assassin crumpled before reaching them. It was over in seconds. Varel could only stare as he stood there, breathing hard, his arms covered in alien blood. "How did you—" she began. He looked back at her, his expression unreadable. "I told you I wasn't safe," he said quietly. "You saved me from the auction," he continued, "but now they'll come for you." "Who?" she asked, still trembling. "Everyone," he said, his voice like iron. "You bought a human." Varel stepped closer, her voice shaking but firm. "Then let them come," she said. "You're not my prisoner. You're my guest." For the first time, he almost smiled, but it was a sad smile. "You don't understand what that means," he said. "You've just painted a target on your world. Outside, the city lights burned bright under the night sky, but above them, in the darkness beyond the stars, something old stirred. A hidden signal blinked faintly in the void, unnoticed and somewhere far away. A machine built by human hands began to wake again. The auction of chains was over, but the real story of the last human had just begun. The sun of Varel Prime rose red through the mist. painting the manor walls in blood-colored light. Guards moved nervously, whispering about the attack during the night. They said the human had killed 6 assassins alone, barehanded. Some called him a monster, others called him a miracle. Lady Varel watched him from the balcony as he stood silently in the courtyard. His eyes scanned the horizon as if expecting more enemies. He looked calm, but his stillness carried danger like a blade hidden under silk. Varel stepped toward him, her silver cloak brushing against the stone. "You didn't sleep," she said softly. "He didn't turn." "Humans don't sleep easy in enemy lands," he replied. "Are we your enemies?" she asked. He looked at her then, and for a moment she saw something ancient in his eyes. "Not yet," he said quietly. She crossed her arms. "You saved my life," he nodded. "That doesn't mean you're safe." Varel frowned. "I could send you away if you wish." He shook his head. "You can't." "Why not?" He glanced toward the city walls where banners of rival houses waved in the morning wind. "They saw what I did last night," he said. "They won't stop until they own me or kill me." "Then stay," she said. "Stay and fight with me." He stared at her for a long moment, then gave a faint, almost tired smile. "You don't even know what you're asking," he said. "I'm asking you to teach me," she replied. "Teach my soldiers how to fight like you." Ryan Tor, the last human soldier, looked at her guards below. Shiny armor, soft hands, no scars. "They're not ready for war," he said. "Then make them ready," she answered firmly. That afternoon, the training yard echoed with shouts and cries. Ryan moved among the soldiers like a shadow, correcting stances, breaking old habits. He made them fight without armor, forced them to use instinct instead of protocol. When they fell, he made them rise again. When they cursed him, he only said, "Pain teaches faster than pride." By nightfall, even the toughest Lysari warriors looked at him with new respect and fear. Varel watched in silence, amazed by how quickly he turned chaos into discipline. There was no cruelty in him, only purpose. She finally understood why humans had been so feared. It wasn't just their strength, it was their refusal to give up. He fought like someone who had already lost everything, and had nothing left to fear. Later that night, Ryan stood alone in the courtyard, staring at the twin moons. Varel approached him quietly, her voice soft. "You've seen many wars." He nodded slowly. "Too many." "What was Earth like?" she asked. He didn't answer for a long time. Finally he said, "Beautiful, stubborn, and gone." She felt the weight in those words, heavy as the silence between stars. Then from the distance came the sound of drums. Alien soldiers marched through the lower city, bearing the sigil of House Karoth, her rival. A messenger arrived moments later, pale and breathless. "My lady," he said, "Lord Karoth demands that you hand over the human." Ryan's eyes narrowed. "So it begins." Varel's hands trembled slightly, but her voice was steady. "Tell him this," she said. "The human is under my protection." The messenger bowed and ran. Ryan turned to her. That was a mistake. She met his gaze, or a promise, through the night. The city buzzed with rumors. House Karoth gathered mercenaries, ships and weapons. Varel's allies sent warnings, telling her to surrender before it was too late. But she refused, and so did the human. He spent the night preparing traps, studying the manor's defenses, adjusting energy grids. He moved with a calm precision that frightened even her generals. Finally, before dawn, he placed his old Terran combat knife on the table. "Its surface worn and burned. This blade belonged to my captain," he said quietly. "He made me swear an oath before he died." "What oath?" Varel asked. He looked at her with eyes that glowed faintly under the rising sun. "To protect what's worth saving," he said. "And do you think I am?" she whispered. He paused, then nodded once. "Maybe," he said, "but they won't care." The sky thundered as ships appeared above the city, dark shapes moving through the clouds. Her servants ran in panic, shouting that the Karoth army was at the gates. Varel turned to Ryan, fear in her eyes. "What do we do?" she asked. He stepped forward, his expression calm, his voice firm. "We fight," he said, "but this time you fight like humans." He turned toward the gates as the first explosion shook the ground. Alien war machines marched through the smoke, banners snapping in the wind. Varel's soldiers took their positions, their hearts pounding, and at the front, with nothing but his captain's knife and stolen alien tech on his wrist, stood the last human. the man the galaxy once called savage, the warrior who would remind them all why Earth was feared. As the battle horns screamed across the valley, Ryan whispered to himself, "This is not your war," he said softly, "but I'll fight it anyway." And when the enemy charged, the human moved first, faster than light. The siege of Lysari Manor had begun. The dawn broke red and violent over the city of Virel Prime. Smoke rose from the lower streets as ships of House Karoth hovered above the skyline, their weapons glowing like angry suns. The people hid in silence, afraid to breathe as war returned to their world, and at the heart of it all stood Lysari Manor, proud and still, its gates closed but trembling under the distant thunder. Inside the courtyard, Rian prepared for battle. He moved like a storm in slow motion, checking energy barriers, setting traps along the walls, arming every corner with alien tech repurposed by human instinct. He didn't ask for help. He simply worked. His face calm but his eyes cold. Virel watched him, her silver skin pale under the dim light. "Do you really think we can hold them off?" she asked. He looked at her briefly. "I don't think," he said. "I plan." Her soldiers gathered nervously behind him. They were trained in ceremony, not survival. Ryan walked among them, correcting their grips, adjusting their armor, his voice steady and sharp. "Forget your noble code," he said. "Fight to live, not to look brave." When one soldier trembled, he placed a hand on his shoulder. "Courage," Ryan said softly, "is not the absence of fear. It's what you do while afraid." The ground shook. A deep roar echoed through the valley. The enemy had arrived. Dozens of dropships descended in formation, releasing metallic beasts that stomped toward the manor gates. Energy shields shimmered under the first volley of plasma fire. The sky turned white with explosions, and the war began. Ryan moved faster than any alien could track. He leapt to the barricades, shouting orders, redirecting power from defense grids to counter-fire systems. "Overcharge the south shield," he commanded. "Make them think it's failing." As the enemy focused on the south wall, he triggered a hidden pulse mine. A blinding surge tore through the front line, vaporizing soldiers and machines alike. Virel stared in shock. "You used our shields as bait," Ryan nodded. "Humans fight dirty." House Karoth's general, a reptilian brute named Karothan, watched from his ship, furious. "Send in the drones," he hissed. "Crush them." Hundreds of attack drones screamed through the air, raining death from above. Ryan activated the manor's anti-air grid, ancient alien turrets long unused. He rewired their circuits with human code and aimed them by instinct. Bolts of blue energy lanced upward, cutting through the drones one by one. Still, the enemy pressed on, breaking through the outer wall. Virel's guards fell back, wounded and terrified. Ryan threw himself into the fight. His movements brutal, precise, unstoppable. Every strike he made was meant to kill. Every motion born from centuries of human warfare. He used alien weapons as clubs, turned shattered metal into blades. Even the Karoth soldiers began to whisper in fear. "This can't be one man," they said. "This is a demon." By nightfall, the courtyard was covered in smoke and blood. The surviving defenders stood behind Ryan, their faces blackened, their hearts pounding. Virel stepped forward, trembling but proud. "You saved us again," she said. He didn't answer, his gaze fixed on the horizon. "Not yet," he muttered. "They're regrouping," and he was right. Far above the city, a massive cruiser descended, casting a shadow over the land. Its hull bore the mark of the Karoth High Command. The air crackled with power as its main cannon began to charge. Ryan's wrist device beeped softly, reading impossible energy levels. "If that cannon fires," he said, "the manor and half the city will vanish. Then what do we do?" Virel asked, fear breaking through her calm. He turned to her slowly, his voice quiet but certain. "We do what humans always do when the universe wants us gone," he said. "We fight harder." He sprinted toward the communication tower at the manor's peak. The wind howled as he climbed, energy blasts flashing around him from the top. He saw the Karoth fleet stretched across the clouds like a metal storm. He reached into his torn uniform and pulled out a small, cracked device, the last relic of Earth. It pulsed weakly with blue light. Its signal lost to time, he whispered into it. "Black Spear, this is Ryan Tor. If you can hear me, we're not finished yet." The sky exploded as the cruiser fired. Ryan jumped from the tower, slamming a stolen gravity module to his chest. The blast hit the manor's shield, ripping it apart in a wave of light. For a moment everything went silent. Then, from the ruins, a single signal flared across the stars. Old, forgotten, but still alive, a Terran code. Blinking into the void, calling something long asleep. Virel crawled from the rubble. Searching through smoke and flame, she found him lying still, barely breathing. "Ryan," she whispered. "You're alive." His eyes opened slowly. Glowing faintly with blue light from the device, he smiled weakly. "Didn't expect that to work. What did you do?" she asked. "I called home," he said before losing consciousness. Above the world, deep in forgotten orbit, something ancient began to stir. Metal moved. Lights flickered on across a massive shape hidden in shadow. An old human warship, the Black Spear, began to awaken. The galaxy had forgotten Earth, but Earth had not forgotten them. Far above Virel Prime, in the silent dark between stars, something old began to move, buried under a century of dust and debris. The warship Black Spear came alive again. Engines that had slept since the fall of Earth roared like thunder in the void. Its hull glowed faintly with ancient Terran markings. The flag of humanity still burned into the steel. Inside the wreck, machines hummed. Cryopods flickered, and one by one, lights came back to life. The ship's AI spoke in a voice dry with age. "Signal received, source Ryan Tor. Authentication confirmed." Across the stars, warning beacons blinked in alien systems. Old enemies of humanity felt the echo and trembled. The humans were awake again, back on the surface. Virel sat beside Ryan's bed as the medical drones repaired his wounds. His breathing was shallow, his body marked by scars that no machine could heal. She held the small Terran beacon in her hands, its blue light pulsing softly. "What have you done?" she whispered. He opened his eyes slowly, his voice low. "I called my ship." "You mean that thing in orbit?" she asked. He nodded. "She was my command, my family, and my last promise." Moments later, the sky above the city cracked with light. A column of energy shot down from the clouds surrounding the ruins of the manor. Every alien in the city looked up in terror as a shadow fell across the land. The Black Spear descended through the atmosphere like a ghost from the past. It moved with purpose, silent and unstoppable. Virel felt her heart pound. "That's human technology?" Ryan stood slowly, leaning on the wall. "It's older than most of your empires," he said, "and far more dangerous." The ship sent down a landing craft. Black and shaped like a blade, when the doors opened, armored figures stepped out. Their armor was cracked, ancient, but still gleamed with the insignia of the Terran Defense Command. Their leader removed his helmet, revealing a human face, pale from stasis but alive. He looked at Ryan, disbelief and relief mixing in his voice. "Commander Tor, by all stars we thought you were dead." Ryan smiled faintly. "I almost was." The soldiers saluted him, the sound echoing like thunder through the ruins. The aliens who had gathered to watch fell to their knees in fear. They had heard legends of humans who could turn entire fleets to dust. Now those legends stood before them again, made of blood and metal. Virel stepped closer, eyes wide with wonder. "You weren't just a soldier," she said softly. "You were their leader." Ryan shook his head. "I was one of many. We fought to keep humanity alive, and when Earth fell, we scattered." He looked at the horizon where alien banners once flew. "Now maybe it's time to finish what we started." From orbit, the Black Spear's voice echoed through every comm network on the planet. "Attention, non-Terran forces. This world is now under the protection of the human expeditionary fleet." Panic spread like wildfire. House Karoth ships tried to retreat, but the Black Spear locked onto them. Its cannons fired once, clean, silent, precise. The enemy fleet vanished in a single flash of light. Virel turned to Ryan, shocked. "You destroyed them all." He looked at her quietly. "No, I warned them. They chose war." For a moment, she said nothing, then softly, "You could have left me. You could have let me die." He smiled faintly. "You bought me when no one else dared. You called me human when they called me savage." He paused, his voice low but powerful. "And humanity pays its debts." The next day, alien news channels across the galaxy carried the same headline. "The humans have returned." Old alliances began to shake. Worlds that once hunted humans now whispered in fear. And far beyond the stars, dormant Terran satellites began to blink awake one by one. They turned their cameras toward the galaxy and whispered the same message. "Signal received. Black Spear operational." Virel stood beside Ryan on the manor balcony. Watching the sunrise, the city below was quiet. But the future felt heavy with power. "What happens now?" she asked. He looked toward the horizon where the stars still glowed faintly. "Now," he said, "we rebuild, we remind them who we are." She smiled softly. "And who are you, Ryan Tor?" He turned to her, his eyes calm but burning with something ancient and unbroken. "I am human," he said, "and that means the galaxy just changed forever." Above them, the black spear hovered like a silent guardian. Its engines hummed with the heartbeat of a species that refused to die, and somewhere deep inside its core a new message began to transmit. "Next objective detected," it said. "Distress signal. Human colony. Coordinates confirmed." Ryan looked up, his voice steady but filled with purpose. "It's not over," he whispered. "Not while one of us still breathes." The stars above Varel Prime burned like 1,000 silent witnesses. The human warship Black Spear drifted in orbit, black steel against the red glow of dawn. Its hull bore the scars of forgotten wars, yet its engines hummed with fresh power. Inside, the corridors came alive with light. Echoes of footsteps, voices of soldiers waking from 100-year sleep. Ryan Tor stood on the command bridge, his hands resting on the control rail before him. The galaxy shimmered in the glass of the main display. Varel stood beside him, her silver eyes reflecting the endless void. "The ship feels alive," she whispered. Ryan nodded slowly. "She is," he said. Every Terran ship had a soul, built from memory and blood. The AI's voice filled the bridge, calm yet filled with pride. "Commander Tor, all systems online. Cryo crew revival complete, awaiting orders." He looked at the star map glowing before him. Points of red marking distress beacons, each one was a forgotten colony, a remnant of humanity scattered after Earth's fall. "They thought we were extinct," he said. "Let's prove them wrong." Varel watched as he gave his first command. "Plot a course for the nearest human signal," he said. Engines roared like thunder, and the black spear surged into the stars behind it. The shattered ruins of the alien city glimmered, a warning written in fire as they traveled through the void. The crew gathered in the briefing hall. Men and women who had slept through centuries now stood straight and silent. Some wept when they saw the stars again. Others clenched their fists. Ryan stepped forward, his voice steady. "We were scattered, enslaved, forgotten," he said, "but not broken. The galaxy calls us savage," he continued. "So let's show them what that really means." The hall erupted in a cheer that shook the metal walls. Their journey took them to the outer rim, to a mining world where human slaves toiled under alien whips. When the Black Spear entered orbit, the aliens laughed. "An old Terran relic," they said. "No threat at all." But the first shot from the ship's rail cannon erased half their fleet in a single flash. Within hours, the mines were silent. The humans below staring up in disbelief. They saw their old flag again, glowing in the sky like a promise reborn. Ryan led the landing team himself, boots sinking into the red dust. The enslaved humans fell to their knees, trembling. One of them, an old man with scarred hands, whispered, "We thought you were gone." Ryan helped him stand, his voice calm but fierce. "Not gone," he said. "Just waiting for someone to remember." The news spread faster than light across 100 systems. Humans hidden in shadows began to rise. Whispers became chants. Chants became rebellions everywhere. They spoke one name, Ryan Tor, the human commander, the one who came back from death, the one who carried the fury of Earth in his blood. Varel watched from the command deck as new ships joined their cause. Old freighters, stolen alien cruisers, and rebuilt Terran destroyers painted black. An armada was forming, bound not by empire but by survival. "This will start a war," she said quietly. Ryan looked at her, his eyes hard but kind. "No," he said. "It will end one." The Black Spear led the fleet through the stars, liberating worlds one by one. Every battle carried the same message. Never chain a human, never call them savage. For when the last human stood, the galaxy trembled. Finally, they reached the world where Earth's last colonists had vanished. A fortress planet ruled by alien warlords. Thick with defenses and arrogance, the enemy hailed them, laughing. "You come with one ship against an empire?" Ryan smiled faintly. "No," he said. "I come with humanity." Then he gave the order. "All guns, fire!" The void lit up like a newborn sun. When the light faded, the fortress was gone. Silence fell across every system listening to the broadcast. No one laughed anymore. In the days that followed, Ryan stood again on the bridge. The crew looked at him not as a commander but as a symbol. Varel stepped beside him, her voice soft. "You changed everything." He smiled faintly. "No," he said. "We reminded them who we are." Outside, the stars stretched endlessly. Human banners once lost now flew again on liberated worlds. The legend of the Black Spear spread across galaxies. Children of every species whispered it at night. Don't harm the humans, don't call them savage, they remember. And in that silence between stars, the last human looked toward the distant light of a broken Earth. He raised his hand in salute, his voice quiet but eternal. For Earth, for all of us, forever human. The ship roared into the dark, and the galaxy would never forget their return.